Welcome back to the podcast. This week's guest is Charlotte Cooper. Charlotte Cooper is the bass player of the Subways. The Subways' debut album came out in 2005 and they're still releasing albums to this day. We spoke about the Subways' career, which has included Charlotte and frontman Billy splitting up and Billy's brother Josh leaving the band as well. We spoke about this, plus we spoke about working with different producers and how that changed the sounds of their albums, and we also touched on how it feels to be a woman in the music business. We spoke about all this, and as always, Charlotte picked her heroes to come for dinner. I hope you all enjoy this episode. Charlotte was a fantastic guest, and I'll be back again next week with another episode. Thanks. Thank you very much. This is the Time for Heroes podcast, and this week I've got Charlotte Cooper, bass player in the Subways. It's a pleasure to have you on. What I usually do with my guests is just start off with your early life growing up, what life was like for you, and how that kind of pushed you into the music scene.
Cool. Well, thank you very much for having me on. It's cool to be a part of. Thinking about being a kid, not thought about that for a while now. But yeah, I played musical instruments from quite young, so I guess that probably. My mum taught me how to play the recorder when I was like 7, I think, and then learnt various classical instruments, and then met Billy and Josh when I was like 14, and they were already in a band. Playing drums and guitar, so they needed a bass player, so they thought they'd teach me, and that there was no kind of grand designs or anything at first of all. It was just like 3 kids making a racket really in our parents' houses. Right.
And what was your ambitions then when you were young? Were you always thinking about getting into music, or?
So I think first of all, just wanted to play gigs, we were super young, we were like 15 I think when we first started, and we just wanted to play the local rock competition because that's what was available to us then, but then we started getting more and more into it and wanting to play more and more shows, and then started thinking, would it be cool if we could do this? I guess the thing that happened for us is the Glastonbury competition, which I think a lot of people know about, that we won that, and so that kind of got us a bit more press exposure, and then I guess everything kind of went a bit wild from there.
One of the things about the band as well was it was quite DIY, wasn't it? But like the recording was kind of all done in-house, and I think Billy set up the website and stuff like that. So, I mean, obviously for a young band to be doing all that, taking all that on yourselves, there's a lot of undertaking there. So there must have been a bit of seriousness about it back then to be putting that effort in.
I guess that's just sort of how you did things back then. I guess like a lot of bands have the story of having a forum on their website, and that's sort of how you created a fan base. I think that's quite common for around that time, and I know that a lot of people that met on that forum still come to Subway's gigs, which is really amazing. And we were, Billy's always been really interested in production and that side of things. So he was recording us in his mum and dad's living room, which was pretty funny. And I would just Google like London venues and try and find places to send our CDs off to, because it was before the time where you'd send a file, like you sent an actual CD in the post to venues, and before the time of social media. So I think things we're quite different then. I think that's how you got gigs. You just made a CD and you sent it round, and you hope promoters might listen and might let you come and play in their venues.
Obviously, you mentioned the Glastonbury competition, obviously sending the CD off.
Yeah.
So I take it was that Billy's idea again? It does seem quite driven and focused. And
yeah.
Can I talk us through that?
Yeah, sure. So Billy, he was recording a band at the time, and they said that they were going to send their demo off to Michael Eavis because he was hosting a competition, and if you won the competition, you got to play Glastonbury. So we thought, oh well, we'll send ours off as well and just see what happens. And our CD was picked out, so we got to go and play a gig, like a kind of a fight. It was called a final. So there was like a panel of judges, but also like there was other people in the room, and then and then we won and we got to play Glastonbury. It's just, like we genuinely never expected that at all. And so it was quite, to go from playing to, like maximum 50 people in small places in London to all of a sudden be on stage at the other stage at Glastonbury was just, it was unreal. And we were only like 18 at the time. Like I was doing my A-levels. I was like revising in the van on the way down to Glastonbury. It was just completely wild that happened to us. But forever grateful for the opportunity.
And what's your relationship like with Glastonbury now, with Michael and Emily? You seem to kind of be one of the bands, kind of like a Glastonbury band.
We would love to play again. We've always, I think, it's been really kind of them to invite us back a few times since then, because it's just an amazing place to play. There's something very special about the festival. The crowd is always really exciting, and it's a nice place. It's great to hang out in afterwards as well. So we would love to come back. No plans this year, but maybe next year. That'd be amazing.
So obviously, along with Glastonbury, you did Reading and Leeds, and you went on a UK tour all this before the debut album was released. So what was it like going on tour the first time, playing all these little venues up and down the country and kind of cutting your teeth? How did that feel, going out on the road at such a young age?
It's just wild. I mean, I couldn't think of anything better to be doing at 18 years old. It was just incredible. And just really made us think, we just love being in a band, love being on stage, love playing shows. And it was quite it was quite a long tour, quite an extensive tour, and I think that just sort of set us up for what we wanted to do as a band. We just want to tour, and we've always toured, up until recent years, we've always toured as much as possible for each album, and kind of tried to just milk it as much as possible, because that's what we love to do. And so I think those early shows and that early tour really kind of set us up for that.
When the album came out, I mean, the album does sound like a live kind of Subways gig. Cracking album that, like, every song on it is like a banger. It's just one of the albums that everybody seems to get.
Oh, cool.
How was that, recording that? Obviously, you work with Ian Brodie, and kind of when you look at Ian Brodie, he seems to kind of work with bands on debuts quite a bit, even up until now. So was that kind of, firstly, what was that like working with him, and secondly, is that kind of a conscious effort to him to work with up and coming bands?
So Ian he goes without saying, has incredible production abilities, and he's really great at capturing sound, but I think capturing energy of bands. So I guess maybe that's why there's something special about when he works with bands on their debut, because there's a real energy about a debut album. He's amazing at capturing that. But we found him to be a really huge mentor for us. I kind of think, because he was in the Lightning Seeds from quite young, has always done music. I think he kind of brings a calmness, and we were quite fiery back then. Got two brothers in a band, and we're kind of, there's very close relationships within the band, and there was a certain fieriness to us. And I think he sort of brought like a calming kind of influence to that, to kind of focus us to get the album recorded. And he just had such an amazing career, and I think just working with him was would just the perfect person for us to work with at that time, and at that age.
Well, obviously, like the vocals on the, like you and Billy's vocals kind of going back and forth, was that, like, going back to the start of the band, was that always a thing, or was it initially Billy singing, and when did it come about that you started kind of coming in?
It was definitely initially Billy singing. I enjoy singing now. I haven't always enjoyed singing, so I think it was definitely sort of, I think we felt that, like, there was an opportunity there to have a woman's voice in the band, and to have there's a lot of kind of the work that many women playing around that time. So I guess we thought it would just add a different quality, obviously, because the higher nature and the different frequencies of the voice would kind of add something to the sound of our music. So I've worked hard on it to get to the point where I feel happy singing now.
Yeah, because I mean, like, those songs just they wouldn't sound the same with your voice on it. It kind of sets you apart from the other bands of that time. The success of that album, you started getting support gigs with big bands. You played with Foo Fighters, didn't you? And I'm pretty sure did you play with Oasis as well on a tour?
So we played. We're lucky enough to play. With Foo Fighters, with Oasis. Two bands which were huge influence on us. I think Foo Fighters are largely considered to be one of the greatest live experiences. So to play with them was amazing. And Billy always says that Supersonic is one of the songs that wanted to make him pick up a guitar. So just huge honour to play with those bands. Yeah, for sure.
So like the second album, different producer, Butch Vig. Did he work with Nirvana? Is that right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. Nevermind. Yeah.
Yeah. I've got all my notes here, but kind of good. I'm just up at my bed. I'm a bit fuzzy.
No, don't worry at all.
But what was the difference like? What with Butch's compared to Eden?
So I think a lot of it was kind of the location as well, because the first album was recorded in Liverpool. Second album we went to LA with Butch Vig, and just like this big sort of LA studio just sort of felt quite grand, I guess. And to be in a completely different place we'd never really spent much time in before was just like a really influential part of it as well. And then the level to which Butch works at is amazing. And still very young and still quite daunting to be sort of 20. I think I was 21 to be working with someone that's worked with like your favorite bands is just absolutely like beyond your wildest dreams. And still, like, I think at the time we were so used to things like snowboarding and you just sort of got on and did stuff. It's only now kind of looking back and the last 2 years sort of enforcing everyone to take a bit of a break that you kind of look back and think, how on earth, like I was 19, 20, 21, these things happened. Like how on earth did that happen to us? And how like I just so incredibly lucky.
And obviously round about that time as well, you and Billy split up. So how hard? What was the thinking around about that? Because if I was with my girlfriend, I split up, you went as far away from him as possible. So for you two to continue to be in a band together, it's like an amazing achievement to kind of be able to do that. So how did that come about? Was there any thinking of splitting up?
I think there was never any thought of not carrying on with the music. I know that sounds kind of odd. I think we just didn't even think about that because we're just like, well, neither of us wants to stop that. We may not want to be together, but still want to. This is what we know and this is what we love to do. I guess there was never any thought about not carrying on. But you didn't even think. I know it's very strange to think about that, but it's never even thought about it. It was always, we love this so much and there's got to be a way to work together.
Well, that's amazing. I would just have found it so awkward, I think. How did, in that situation, how did Josh help? Was Josh kind of like a buffer between you in that sense?
I guess when you're a three-piece, there's close relationships between the three of you. So, yeah, I think he definitely kind of helped to, kind of like neutralize, I guess, because it was not just me and Billy. Like there's three people. So, kind of that dynamic was still there, and that kind of hadn't really changed at all.
Right. So the initial success of the first album is kind of, you've never really been able to kind of hit that again in your subsequent albums, but as art, obviously you still want to bring out these albums and you've still got a loyal following. So how has that affected you? Do you think it was always meant to be like that? You were going to bring out a big album and then it was going to be, in some terms, like in chart success terms, kind of downhill for there on. How have you dealt with that?
So I think things have just changed hugely in music since the release of that first album. That first album came out in a time when people still bought albums. So there's that whole side of thing which completely changed as well. And I think for us, like, I guess maybe we don't play in the UK so much anymore, but Germany's become a really important place for us, and we play more in Europe. And I guess we've never really been huge anywhere, but we're kind of at an okay level in quite a few different countries, so that we can play festivals each year, and it can still, financially, it can still be viable, and it can still be what we call our job, although I use that as a very loose term. It pays my bills, but I don't see it as a job, if you see what I mean. Very lucky that that's kind of what we're still able to do, and be in that position.
I was going to mention that, actually, Germany. It rang a bell that you were kind of you were big there. So what is the differences, do you think, in like the music scenes in other countries? Like, is there a big difference between Germany and the UK in terms of what sort of music's big?
So I think for us there is, because we're, Germany is by far our main country that we play in, and then a lot of the countries surrounding Germany, so like Poland, Czech Republic, Hungary, Austria, Switzerland, they all kind of get bits of German TV, and kind of radio stations sort of infiltrate, and so that's kind of that sort of Germany and the surrounding area is kind of, that's where we play now, really. That's like where it's where we need to get back to, which is still difficult at the moment, because there's so many different, we're not going into that because there's so many things going on at the moment, but so that's, I don't know what it is, really, to be honest. We have no idea. We're just, something has clicked for us in Germany, and I don't quite know what, but our music, just people understand it there, and people get it, and people want to come to the shows, and the festivals are always amazing, and we can play, like, we're hopefully going in May to play like a 3-week tour just in Germany. Right. So and I just really hope that happens, and we can get back to that.
Obviously, as well as that, what you were saying about back at the start, music was different and music was bought differently. Obviously, you were kind of coming in at the end of guitar music, weren't you? Like, guitar music was kind of dying away. You were kind of like the last breed of that, and you were different for the other bands. You weren't like the View or Libertines. You were a bit harder. There was a bit of a harder sound, a bit of a rockier sound. So do you think that kind of set you apart a bit at the time as well? Because looking at you now, you're kind of more, I would say, the sound of maybe Royal Blood or somebody like that, kind of that came after. So do you think that part of the problem, that there wasn't anybody else sounding like you? Sorry.
Yeah.
As much as it's nice to sound different, there's also that part where there's not really anything like that. So
I think we didn't feel like we fitted in, really. We weren't quite NME. We were too rock for NME, but then we weren't quite doing what the Kerrang bands were doing. So we didn't really have anywhere to be put, if you know what I mean. And I know that there's another band that we're friends with, Blood Red Shoes, who were out at the similar time, and they kind of felt the same way, that they didn't really fit anywhere, but were sort of a little bit like what was going on. So we kind of got swept up in certain scenes, but not quite. And so I think maybe that's given us longevity. I don't know, because we're still doing it now, because I guess we weren't sort of just pigeonholed into everyone was doing back then. But definitely didn't quite fit in, I guess.
I rambled on there with that question. I didn't really know where it was going with it.
I knew what you meant, it's right.
So obviously, the third album, again, working with a massive producer, Stephen Street, Blur and the Smiths, amongst others. So again, kind of, what was the differences again for Ian and for Butch to working with Stephen?
So I think by this point we were a bit older, felt a bit more experienced. So I think a lot of it has been, the different experience working with producers each time, but us as a band feeling kind of in a different place as well. And I guess we had more confidence when we started working with Stephen Street, and kind of a bit more sure of what we wanted to do. But then I think Stephen did have a huge influence. I think it's our most like British sounding record. And I think, like you say, he worked with people like the Coral and Blur, very sort of, you think about, he was very much part of that sort of Britpop kind of sound. So I think that influence is definitely, you can really hear that on that album.
Yeah, because as a kind of noticeable difference, I think, for the first two. Next album, obviously Josh left the band, so how was that, dealing with that? It's been the 3 years for so long, and then to have somebody new come in to replace Josh, how hard is that kind of the change of band dynamic?
So I think initially when Josh left, I thought, how, I don't quite know how we're gonna do this, because that's, like you say, it's kind of the three of us. The three pieces are like kind of everyone has a quite unique role, I think, and Josh was very, very unique and individual drummer, and so I think what we quite quickly realized was we can't look to replace Josh. It's not going to be the same. We just have to think we're just a new version of the Subways moving forward, and it's not going to be like before, but that'll be okay. We'll find our way with somebody new. And Camille joined us. It's about a year she's been with us now, but we're still not, because of just restrictions or everything, we've still not done a huge amount. So she's done which she did. We did like a 15-year celebration of Young Fraternity, which we started in 2020 and got 3 shows in, and then it was cancelled. So she did the final 6 shows of us last September, and then we're looking forward to hopefully doing this German tour in May, and then festivals this summer with her. And then we've just finished our 5th album, but I say we've just finished it. We finished it probably about a year ago, but we haven't released it because of various different complications in the world right now. But so Camille's not actually played on the album. That's all Josh. So Josh played everything on that 5th album, which will be coming out later this year. So looking forward. Camille's awesome. She's an amazing drummer, but like super cool to hang out with as well. So just looking forward to seeing what direction we go with her and what influence she's going to bring.
Obviously, when you needed a drummer, was there at any point where you thought about your husband?
So I think then we'd have really big childcare issues. It's hard enough with us in different bands. I think there was never any I just couldn't cope with that. What on earth would we do with the children? Yeah.
So on that, the 4th album, was that self-produced then?
Yeah, so Billy produced the 4th album, and he's produced the 5th one as well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what's the difference like then with that? I mean, obviously, even going right back to the start, obviously Billy was quite hands-on and quite kind of DIY with everything. So is this like the band going full circle?
Yeah, definitely. And I think there's quite a huge element of the 4th album where it felt like we're kind of going back to that sort of energy and that time of Young Fraternity and then before Young Fraternity as well. And just completely different experience being in our sort of home studio environment and kind of having endless amount of time to work on things and sort of think about what direction we want to do with the songs. I think that's kind of been more applicable, I think, this time around with the 5th album, because of COVID and everyone being at home. We ended up doing a lot of it separately and kind of sending files down to Billy to sort of cobble together in his studio. But I think this 5th album, the new one, sounds really very different to anything we've done before, just because I don't know, I just got endless amount of time to sit and play synths in my bedroom. It just kind of sent us all on different tangents. But I think that's been quite cool, and I think it sounds quite different.
Right. So I'm expecting a more 80s sound.
Some of it, yeah. I think me and Billy listen to a lot of 80s. Yeah. There's definitely that influence in there, yeah.
It must take a lot of pressure off, though, like as you say, having your own studio. There's no as much time constraints, and then obviously the way the world's been, you've kind of been locked down. So again, there is less of a rush and more time to just concentrate on the actual art. So
yeah, Yeah,
So
it
in
was. I
some
really,
terms, it's been good. Do you know what I mean? In that,
I found I was very grateful to have something positive and something relating to the future to be working on whilst we were all, in that first lockdown when things were really quite scary. I think no one knew what was happening, and kind of to have just to go upstairs and forget all about that and work on some music was, just an amazing gift, really. And I felt very lucky to have that. Once we kind of worked out a way to do it, I'm like, oh no, actually, I can record bass here, and then I can send it to Billy and he can jazz it up, and I can record vocals, like a very raw version, and I can send, like, we just managed to make it work, and I think it did work really well. And just I quite enjoyed just losing my mind a little bit on my own upstairs. It's quite good.
yeah. Well, especially now that you're a mother, it's nice to have some sort of escape as well in it with the music.
Yeah.
Which kind of leads me on to the next question, which is, how do you feel you've changed since Young for Eternity came out up until now? How do you think you as a person has evolved?
Oh, like, I think everybody goes through a huge change from 18 to, well, I'm now 36. So it's a completely, different place. When I was 18, or just like, just everyone's a bit wild, aren't they? And I was no different. And now I kind of think a lot more settled, and just, I guess, maybe a bit more calm in some ways, maybe less calm in other ways. I think, it's big change between 18 and 36.
It is hard. Like, I mean, me as a fan and like a gig goer, having children, like, it noticeably cuts down the amount of gigs you get to go to.
Yeah.
So it must be really hard being in a band and having the kids, like you mentioned earlier, with your husband, like childcare issues. So how does that work? Obviously, you've not really kind of toured extensively for a while anyway. So how do you see that becoming?
I'll be completely honest. We have no idea what we're doing. I think a lot of people feel like that with children. Everyone's just making it up, aren't they? But I feel like, we just take one, because my husband plays in a band, but he's a tech, and he tours. He's off to America next month for 5 weeks. So we just take each tour as it comes. We've got really, really good grandparents who are very willing to help us out where we need to. And I think we just try and it's not too bad this year. There's only a few clashes of a few days here and there. So I think we're all right for now, and we'll just just take it as it comes.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Keep it like that.
Yeah.
Obviously, like the last question about how you've evolved, kind of, as well as that, how do you think the music industry's changed in terms of women in the time that you've been in it? Do you think it's got better or worse? Obviously, there've been some incidents in the last couple of months with bands calling out fans at gigs for inappropriate behaviour and things like that. So, in terms of being a woman in the music industry, how do you feel that's evolved, and how do you think it could get better in the future?
I think if we're focusing on positives, I think the positive thing is that there's more awareness now that that more needs to be done, and that we can't just keep treating women that way. So I think the awareness is only a positive thing, and hopefully can keep moving forward. But there's still I feel like there's still a mountain to climb with it. I think there are things which are better, because I think, some of the things I read about myself in the early days, people just would not write that now, which is obviously a really positive thing. But it freaking sucks that happened back then, and that people felt it was okay to kind of objectify women, and kind of I felt there was a very dismissive nature when Young for Eternity came out. People were very dismissive of women in bands. Now I feel like there's a lot more respect, so that's definitely a big positive.
Yeah, I mean, looking back on it, I was like, this NME Hottest Women of the Year and stuff like that. And it's like, it kind of takes so much away from what you're trying to achieve. You've not come into music to be, as you say, put there as an object for people. You're there because you want to do that, and you need to be given the respect. So that's about it really, other than the end part of the podcast, which is obviously it's called Time for Heroes, and I ask for usually 4 heroes. It depends. As the episodes have got on, people have picked kind of, some people you get a list of about 20 people because they can't work in.
Big dinner party.
Yeah. So depending how big your house is, give me a list of your heroes that are coming for dinner and what you would cook them.
So yeah, 4 people in my kitchen would be plenty. So we'll stick with 4. So I'd say, I was thinking about this. I think Shirley Manson, Courtney Love, PJ Harvey, and Charlotte Hatherley. And the reason I picked those 4 is because they were 4 which were hugely influential around when I first started playing bass. And those were the people that I wanted to be. And as for what I'm going to cook them, I've become very fish fingers and chips over the past few years, because that's like it's what my kids eat. But I quite like making a nice veggie curry. So hopefully they'd like a veggie curry. I don't know. Yeah. It's like literally the only thing I can cook.
Obviously, touching on Charlotte, of people, because I was hoping you would say her, because she was probably, when I got into music, kind of Britpop, so like kind of before you were it. So Charlotte was probably the most kind of, the one kind of woman figure that was kind of out and about at that point, really. So was she always kind of an inspiration when you were young growing up? Obviously, you had the same name. He's kind of kind of this, pretty much the same style of music as well. Ash were quite kind of that sort of thing, and he's both had a song as well, the same song. Oh yeah. He's both, did you realise that? So was she kind of the one inspiration at that time?
Yeah, she was a huge inspiration. I just, remember seeing videos of her playing, the album with, I can't remember the album with like Meltdown on it, and they're kind of their heaviest album. And I just thought she was like just so cool, and just watching her play, super talented guitarist, and the thing about her as well was I always loved her backing vocals. So really thought they gave such a sparkle to the Ash songs, even on the heavier songs. You get to the chorus and kind of give this like light and kind of real melody to on top of like really heavy guitars. And I think, she's just awesome. And we got to one of our very first support slots I think it was 2004 actually, so it's even before Young Fraternity, she released her first solo record, and we played about four shows with her, and it was I remember meeting her just not knowing what to say. Totally starstruck.
The song that got me more than anything, it was a cover song, cover of Weezer, Only in Dreams. See the bass line and that, and that's brilliant. And I'd love to hear maybe a Subway's cover of that as well, man. That would be brilliant.
It's a cool idea.
Because it's a brilliant bass line in it. It just kind of goes on forever. But I mean, they're all brilliant, and it's nice to have 4 women heroes. If only I'd got this out a bit earlier, it could have been out on International Women's Day, and I'd have been the top of the podcast charts. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure to speak to you. I hope you all enjoyed this episode of Time for Heroes podcast. If you would like to get in touch, the best way is on the Facebook page, Time for Heroes podcast, or on Instagram at Time for Heroes podcast, or Twitter at Time for Heroes P1, or drop me an email at timeforheroespod@gmail.com. You'll find Time for Heroes on all podcast platforms, including Spotify, Apple, Google and Amazon. Please leave a review where you can, share with others, and more importantly, enjoy.